GM met with the media yesterday, and he had a lot to say. So we're going to summarize, dissect, and we're going to share what caught our attention. It's time to get locked on with Mike and Jon, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started.
Hey, thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Hey, we are here Monday through Friday talking Angels baseball because the Halo storylines and headlines are going to be happening all off season, Mike. And so there's going to be plenty to talk about. In fact, today we're breaking down Perry Minasian meeting with the media. Let me just break it down here for you real fast. All right.
So down.
From the top, it's not Nevin's fault, but changes happen when you lose.
Right.
Too soon to know about the next manager.
Okay.
They will try to win again and not rebuild.
Not sure how I feel about that.
Injuries will be evaluated.
Please.
Bachman had a shoulder cleanup. Should be okay to go in spring.
Get better.
C-Rod's back issues have come back,
Poor guy.
unfortunately. So let's start with the decision to let Phil Nevin go. Why was he let go, according to Perry Minasian?
Well, Perry said that the decision was a collaborative one between him and Artie. Remember, Perry made the decision to fire Joe last year, and that was his decision. And Artie said, fine, if that's what you want to do. But this decision to let Phil go was a collaborative decision. Here's his quote. He said, "We didn't win enough games. In sports, when you have certain expectations and you don't meet those expectations, there are changes. And by no means does that mean that Phil is to blame. He's not. It's on all of us, me first and foremost. I've got to do a better job of putting the club together." So, Johnny, I'd love your thoughts. One, on Perry taking ownership of a really bad year, and two, not fully blaming Phil Nevin.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because Perry Minasian, I think, is taking responsibility for the fact that he's in charge of putting the players out on the field. He's got to field the team. He's got to provide the depth. He's got to do all of that. I also think it's just kind of GM speak because, I mean, everybody's at fault here. Yeah, everybody's at fault here. But at the same time, then you usually let a manager go because they aren't working well with the front office. They didn't do a good job managing. There's something that causes a front office to let a manager go and decide that they're going to part ways. At the same time, I think the writing is on the wall in the sense that Perry's never got to pick his guy. And I will shout that from the rooftops every single day of the week, because that's really all this is, Mike, is that Phil Nevin wasn't the guy, and he was never meant to be the guy. Artie was going to sell, and then he didn't sell, and then Phil's here for this extended year to give him a shot because he did it last year. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah. And so he's just giving a lot of niceties, which I totally understand, and probably trying to do Phil a favor in the sense of, hey, if somebody out there wants to hire him as a part of the coaching staff or another manager, like, more power to him, because this is something Phil's wanted to do his whole life, is manage a major league team. He finally got that chance. Now, Phil is not without his faults, obviously. I think that there is an element of the fact that he didn't do the things that they wanted him to do, or there were game time decisions that didn't go so well. I mean, look, you put Andrew Velasquez on the lineup card every single day that he's here.
Right.
That's a Phil Nevin decision. Now, whether or not that was coming from the front office is saying, Phil, I really need you to play Andrew Velasquez at shortstop every single day, and we're not going to call up David Fletcher to play shortstop. Like, I don't know if that's a front office decision. Sure. I don't know if Perry Minasian was the one who was like, well, we really can't bring anybody else up because Andrew Velasquez is all we have. Like, until I see that happened somewhere, I feel like Phil played him, and you're not going to win games like that. And that's just one of a few things that I think fall on the shoulders of Phil Nevin. But what do you think? What do you take from this?
I appreciate the ownership. I really do. I think that that's a good leader. I think somebody who knows that this didn't go well is going to say, hey, it didn't go well, and I'm going to play a part in that. Where I have a bit of a pushback, Johnny, is that I think that Perry did everything that he could to put this team together. And I think that what was the downfall for this team and what was the downfall for Phil Nevin was obviously the injuries. They just couldn't keep a team on the field. And then Perry goes and he gets depth pieces, and then those pieces got hurt, which is why I haven't pulled the ripcord on Perry Minasian, and it's why you haven't either, because I think that this guy has built a really good team, and he's got what I think is a good start to a really young core, yet they just haven't been able to be on the field together. And so that's why I'm thankful that he gets at least one more year. And I would say that if these Halos are successful next season, then Perry should be extended, because hopefully we get to see what this team can do, because they're not going to spend most of the year on the IL. And I'll be an advocate for a continued push for young guys, because I know some of the young guys were on the IL, but I think that we need some young guys that can stay on the field, that can perform, that can be there, right? And then maybe the depth pieces need to be more young guys, maybe solid young guys, but they still need to be young guys. This team just fell apart injury-wise. So I appreciate the ownership. I also appreciate that he's not blaming Phil Nevin. And quite honestly, you and I wouldn't even blame Phil Nevin completely for this season. And you pointed out the reasons why. But I also think that there is a piece to this where it's just good leadership for him to say, yes, I'm going to own that. So I'm thankful that he did, right? That sounds good.
It's GM speak, everybody's at fault here. We all got to take blame. We all got to share in this. And I get that. And you're right. Like, I would not 100% put this season on Phil. If you had Dave Roberts on managing this roster and he's in the postseason with his Dodgers, like, probably wouldn't have had that much of a successful year otherwise, right?
Sure.
And the other side of it is you think about what Perry Minasian's been building here in Anaheim. I think he's the only one who was able to convince Artie to not Artie up the offseason. Yeah. In that Artie said, hey, I really wanted to get Trey Turner. And Perry said, well, Artie, if you want to field a competitive team, we got to spread that money out. And that's the first time in the last decade plus that somebody has kind of stood up to Artie and said, I don't know, man, I think that we ought to do this instead. And he went, oh, okay. So it's one Trey Turner who was bad for 3/4 of the season, or you get Gio Urshela and Hunter Renfroe and Brandon Drury and Tyler Anderson, the innings eater, and Carlos, like, you know what I'm saying?
Gosh, can you imagine what this team would have been like if we signed Trey Turner and then we obviously
had
all of those injuries and then he was awful?
Right.
I mean, it would be Trey Turner at shortstop and it would be, Steve Hug and Kiss playing third base, right? Because it would be somebody that we've never heard of that has to be at third base because we didn't have the depth pieces. And so I'm glad that he pushed back, because it doesn't seem like, based upon the results, that Epler or Dipoto did push back. They just said, we'll go and do that. In fact, we've shared this on this pod before, but we had a Locked On Everydayer that said they're connected to Billy Epler and he was going to go and talk with Zach Wheeler. And then not Minasian, but Artie told him, hey, come home and let's talk to Rendon. And he did, you know? And so that's the funny part about all of this, Johnny. Perry also said that he was talking about the process of finding a new manager. He said he's not concerned about attracting a good manager here, given the managerial turnover and then Minasian's expiring contract. He said, I think it's a very attractive job. I think it's the job that people would love. They would relish the opportunity to have. So obviously he's going to speak highly of this opportunity. And I don't think that it's a terrible job to take, because you're in Southern California and this team does make a lot of money and it has a great fan base. But Johnny, do you think that it will make it difficult to find a good manager? And if Perry isn't extended and if there is this 1 year left on his deal and that's kind of it, are we in the same position we were when Perry first started? Like, isn't it just like cyclical? Like, is this just being crazy? Right?
Yeah. I mean, if Perry goes and whatever manager they sign beyond this year stays, then yes, we are cyclical. We're back in the same boat that we've been in the last decade. Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, even if there is a manager who comes along, I think it would be wise to, and say they let Perry go at the end of his contract. I think it would be wise to let that manager go and let that GM go and let the new GM do his thing and pick his guy. Right. But I'm with you. I hope Perry gets a few more years to really, get his hands into the dough here and work some things out. Because again, the areas of improvement that have needed improvement have improved
Yes,
under Perry Minasian in
that's
terms
true.
of minor leagues and things like that. If you're looking at our minor league rankings and saying, well, they're at the bottom, yes, because Ohapi and Bachman and Joyce and Neto, all those guys, and Shawneewell, they're all in the majors. That's
Right.
why we're ranked 29 or 30. We would probably be like 25 if those guys were in the minor league system. The other thing, Mike, is if the penny pinching of this organization is any indication of the money that's invested where it needs to go, then I would look at the medical staff. I'd look at the training staff, because the reason why they have all these injuries, probably because maybe there's not enough medical staff to go around, maybe not enough training staff to go around. I don't know. I'm not on the field every single day. But if they're going to pinch pennies in literally every area, then why wouldn't they also do it with the medical staff?
Right.
And the results are there. The results are everybody got hurt on this roster.
Yeah.
And you know what happened last year? Everybody got hurt on that roster. And you know what happened the last 10 years? Every single pitcher that came up had to have Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
And so there's just a systemic problem from the top down. And I think it starts and ends with medical staff at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And when you think about, like, if it is a small amount of people that are connecting with these players, like even just something as simple as how they're stretching can be different versus how they're doing it on their own. And sure, they're major league ball players, and sure, they've been stretching since they were little kids. However, there might be something specific that Mike Trout needs to do that maybe Anthony Rendon doesn't need to do, right? And Trout even having people around him to help with that obviously helped his body this year. He said he was feeling so good this year because of the work that he was doing. So that, I think, is an area where they need to invest. And you're right. They probably have pinched the pennies and have made it as lean and mean as they possibly can, which hasn't really helped the players on the field or the team win.
So when you break it all down, the reason that the Angels are going to give us is that, you know, it was a losing season and things have to change. And that's why management had to change.
Yep.
But if you were to just look and read between the lines,
if you're watching every day, right?
Yes. If you're here with us every single day, like the Locked On Everydayer you are, you'll know that Perry Minasian wants the chance to pick his own manager. I think he's going to get that chance come the offseason. Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, Perry met with Shohei Ohtani one-on-one. What did they discuss and how did that meeting go? Well, we're going to get into that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel. You can get in on all of the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to join in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, the spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season right. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, great news. Our Angels 2023 roster report card is now available for you to grade the Angels roster for 2023. In fact, Mike, we've already had over 100 respondents on our survey.
Oh, right on.
So we're getting a lot of good information, a lot of good data, a lot of good comments. And of course, next week, we're going to break down those grades, by position, infield, outfield, bullpen, starting, all that stuff. We're really looking forward to that. So again, if you want to get in on the report card, just check the link in the episode description below the video. Or if you're on the audio side, you'll find the link in the episode description as well. You can also find it at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Instagram.
Perry said that he sat down one-on-one with Shohei Ohtani last weekend and had a really good conversation. So here's his quote from that question. He said he believes that this is a place that he's enjoyed playing, and this is a place that he loves, and he's got a great group of players and teammates that he enjoyed his time with. Is Shohei disappointed that we didn't win? Absolutely. Everybody is. There were high expectations. I've had conversations with numerous players throughout the year, going through April, through May, through June, going into July, right around the trade deadline. There was a lot of confidence in this club, both from the front office perspective and a player perspective. And I was having these conversations with guys like Shohei and Mike and Anthony Rendon and some of the other players. And you get the feeling that this is a place that Shohei really, really loves and appreciates and respects. And we'll just have to see what happens over the course of the offseason. Now, I love that he gave us a bit of insight that they had a conversation, but here's my suggestion, Johnny. I think that whenever Perry talks with Shohei, it should start with thank you. And then the next word should be please, right? Like thank you, and then please come back.
And then this meal's on me, by the way.
Yes, yeah. And the next 25 meals that you want to have is totally on me. And who do you think the next manager should be? And do you think Artie should leave? And no, I'm kidding. But
Right.
I think that there needs to be some really intentional conversations. Johnny, my personal feeling still is that Shohei's coming back. And I know that there's a lot of people that would push back on that. But the reason why is simply because I think he is a loyal guy. He wants to win here. And I think he really loves it here. And yes, going and winning has been the thing that he has said that he wants to do. I just don't think that he wants to do it on the coattails of anybody else or show up on another team. I think it would be a really great story if he won in Anaheim. I wouldn't fault him for leaving at all, but I think that he really wants to win in Anaheim. And there's been no indication that he hates it here. There's been no indication that it's him versus Trout or him versus the team. I think the media loves those narratives, and especially when he had the surgery and they thought he was in Japan and he was in the dugout helping Zach Neto with his swing. So I really am not convinced that he's leaving. I won't be surprised if he does, but I also won't be surprised if he stays. I love, again, that Perry has been having some conversations with him, and I hope that it wasn't just a recap of the year. I hope that it was really intentional conversations about, here's why we think you will thrive here. What do you think about what Perry said about talking with Shohei Ohtani?
I don't think I disagree with you in the sense that I feel like the Angels have just as much of a chance to retain him as any other team does in signing him. I truly, truly believe that. I don't think that I don't think that there's a less than 0% chance like a lot of people would have you believe, or he's out of there. It's just like you said, there's never been one indication from him that he's through with this team and through with being in Anaheim. And I also agree with the sense that, if he goes, I totally get it, totally understand. He wants to go where he has a chance to win somewhere. I totally understand that. Mike, my concern is this, and I glossed over it at the beginning of the show, and it was in our summary of what Perry Minasian had to say. And he said, they will try to win again and not rebuild.
Yeah.
Well, the fact is if you're bringing back Shohei Ohtani, that indicates to me that your mindset is pretty much what it was coming into this season.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to add some depth pieces. We need to add a starter here and a reliever there and a bat here. And then we're going to try to go for it in 2024. You know what I'm saying? And it made sense to me this last offseason to try and go for it with Shohei Ohtani in his last guaranteed year, especially with 2022 and 21 behind him, 2 MVP caliber seasons, one where he got it and one where he should have got it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm an Angel fan. I'm biased. But if bringing back Ohtani means that they are going to be competitive in their words, I am hesitant about that because aren't we doing the same thing over and over again once again?
Sure. I think you're right, Johnny. And I think that the tension point will be how we go about that.
Yeah.
Because we did trade some pitchers, and honestly, the narrative in the national media was the Angels can't trade these pitchers because they have no pitching and right? Like now we really traded away some pennies and some dimes and some nickels, right? And we really don't have a plethora of really great pitchers. Now, when the trade deadline hit, we did trade away. I think Kai Busch was a really good pitcher. But how Perry goes about this, I think, is really, really important. And if he ends up trading a lot of what we have in the minor leagues again, then I think it can be dangerous. And this narrative of like, you're giving away the future, I think that then that narrative actually takes root. I don't think that it's necessary or necessarily true of the team this last season, although they did trade some good pieces. But if you keep doing that, then you are trading away the future. There really isn't anybody that we can anticipate. And with the way that they're moving guys up to the major league roster, and we're going to get a pretty good draft pick this year. So I would anticipate that player is going to be somebody that we might see sooner rather than later. I think it just really depends on how Perry's going to approach this offseason. That really will help us to be confident on if they're really doing the right thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm concerned that if we're just gonna, try to put new tires on the same old vehicle, then we're gonna end up with
Lipstick
another
on a pig, right?
Yeah, like it's another 500 season. Now, having said that, I think while we're all watching the majors up here, I think Perry is kind of in the background fixing things that we don't necessarily see. And I think that a lot of the hires he's made, I think that a lot of the draft picks he's made are fixing things in the background. It's just that, are we going to sit here and go, boy, I really hope we get a full year out of Ohtani this coming year? Because, last year was really unfortunate. He had that shoulder surgery. And it's like, yes, a full season of Ohtani would certainly put us in a better position. But we say that every year.
I know.
Say, boy, I really wish Rendon could stay on the field, and I really wish Trout could stay on the field. We say this every single year.
Yeah.
And so for them to indicate that they want to be competitive, I'm just thinking, man, I don't know. Like, can we can we field a young team of guys who are trying to win? And if they don't, then like if it's 100-loss season, but we gave these guys a shot to get better, like, I don't know. Like, am I saying I want to watch bad baseball? I guess so, but at the same.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
what you're saying is like for example, Brett Rooker plays for the A's, right?
Right.
Guy had a 30 home run season. Now,
the
A's are terrible. Sell the team. All of that stuff is happening. However, he's somebody you could be really excited about because you know that they're actually able to build on that. And perhaps he's going to be a really good major league player. Think about the Royals. They lost a lot of games this year, but they have a great shortstop. They have a great young core, and there's a lot to build from. Detroit is the same thing. Detroit has a great young core, and they almost finished at 500. And so I think that they have a really good opportunity next year to be really good. And so that would be fun to watch, right? A 78-win team, but Mickey Moniak had 30 home runs and Logan O'Hoppe had 40 home runs, right? Like, that would be a team I think both you and I would be really thrilled to watch because they're building for the future, and these young guys' contracts aren't going to run out, and they're still in their early 20s.
Exactly. So again, I Ohtani, if he comes back, he doesn't come back, I think it's great because he's going to do what's best for him.
Yeah.
I am concerned what it means for how they approach the offseason for 2024. I think that is going to be a really big indicator in how they approach it, whether or not he resigns with Anaheim.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Bird Dogs. This offseason with the Angels is always a whole lot of fun. The last few off seasons have been a whole lot of fun, and hope always springs eternal in the off season. But what makes this off season so much better is that John and I can wear our bird dogs while we watch the drama unfold and what Perry Minasian will do. And we would love for you to join us in wearing a really comfortable pair of bird dog shorts or bird dog pants. They are fantastic. They fit you. You don't have to fit in them. The fabric is comfortable and you look way slimmer, even if maybe you're not as slim as you used to be. And that's probably true for a lot of us, right? You can wear them on the golf course, at a meeting, on a date, or hanging out with friends. Bird Dogs pants and shorts work for everybody. So check out birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB and enter our promo code LockedOnMLB, and you'll get a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Enter our promo code LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle, and we promise you won't want to take those Bird Dogs off.
Mike, Perry Minasian had a few more thoughts to kind of wrap up his media scrum that he gave on Tuesday, mid-morning, afternoon. It felt like I was waiting a long time for him to...
It did feel like a long time, yeah.
I was like, come on, guys, where's the news? A couple things that Perry had to say about next year. He said 2 final discussions that they had were about coaching and the payroll, and regarding the coaching, Perry said they haven't made any decisions on the rest of the coaching staff or other members of the front office or even player development. He said they'll do an autopsy and take the rest of the week to consider these things.
Because the team's dead. I get it.
Right. Perry also said that no one else in the organization has been let go yet, but wouldn't guarantee anybody's job either. Now, you and I have our thoughts and feelings about who should go and maybe even who should stay. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the one that should stay, I wouldn't be upset if he stayed, would be Marcus Timms. I think that the offense showed some improvement this year, especially with home runs. I know that there's the runners in scoring position issue. However, I think that what we saw from this offense was up and to the right. And it really helped guys like Mickey Moniak. I think it really helped Logan O'Hoppe when he came back. I think looking for a ball in your zone and attacking was something that was really beneficial for the young guys. It didn't seem like it helped Mike Trout too much. And so maybe Trout needs to pivot a bit. But I think that we're going to see Trout be Trout if he's healthy. It did seem like it helped Shohei Ohtani because Shohei was fantastic this year, although I think he has his own approach. But specifically for those young guys, I think those young guys really thrived under Marcus Timms. Obviously, we need to do better with runners in scoring position. We need to do better with moving the ball over. We need to do better with contact and bunting. And I think that that's what the new manager can bring is a combination of, we're going to do some small ball things, but Marcus, we still want you to be able to do this. But I need you to know that there's going to be moments where I'm going to have Moniak lay down a bunt, or I'm going to have this take place, or I'm going to encourage them to make contact and ground out the first so the runner goes to third base. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Marcus Timms come back. I also wouldn't be opposed to seeing Benji Gill come back just because I really like Benji Gill, although the defense I think could be improved, and I don't necessarily blame that on him. I think it really had to do with the rotation of players and not having the same lineup in there all of the time.
Yeah, the consistency at those positions where, you expect to be at second every single day or shortstop every single day, right? That changed a lot. Mike, obviously, I think Matt Wise needs to go.
Sure.
I don't think that he has a very strong philosophy about pitching or anything. And even his ability to communicate with the pitchers, I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I don't think it's there. I think that there are far better options available all across the league. So the Angels need to open up the pocketbook in that regard. And again, it all comes down to who they pick as the manager.
Yeah.
I could stick with Marcus Timms, but at the same time, if I'm a new manager coming in and I have a thought and I have a philosophy, I'm going to want a hitting coach who helps me carry out that philosophy.
Absolutely.
And having said that, I think that the philosophy starts with the front office. I was chatting back and forth with somebody on YouTube who mentioned, like, whether it's Perry or somebody else, it's just going to be a yes man, and the manager is going to be a yes man. And I said, I think there's a big difference between somebody being a yes man and being somebody who can communicate a strategy to the players on the field. And what I mean by that is the front office and Perry Minasian, they develop a strategy based on who they bring in, the kinds of guys they bring in for batting, the kinds of guys they bring in for pitching, defense, all of that. They bring in those guys and they identify what's good about this guy, what's good about that guy. That's as far as their job goes. It should go, at least. But to communicate, hey, Phil or whoever it is, we picked up, Bob Sacamano because he's really good at A, B, and C. Yeah. Now I need you to make sure he does A, B, and C on the field and at the plate and, on the mound, whatever the case might be.
Use him this way. Sure.
Use him this way because this is why we brought him in. This is what he's good at. And if you let him do that, he will thrive. Now, when it comes to the manager, he's got to make the minute-to-minute in-game decisions. And you know what? Maybe Bob can't do A, B, and C that day. Or maybe there's a better guy instead of Bob to do what needs to happen on the field. There's runners in scoring position, and they need a better hitter, right? So it's not so much a yes man as it is somebody who can communicate a plan and have that be cohesive all the way down. So I think it starts with Perry, it starts with the manager, and then that extends to the coaching staff, whether it's Marcus Timms and Matt Wise or somebody new at the end of the day.
Last little nugget was on the payroll, and Perry said he wouldn't say whether or not Artie would be willing to match last year's payroll and that he would maybe go over the luxury tax, but he did say Artie's motivated to win.
Oh, brother.
Please show me that. Please show me it, right? But here's the part that I really struggle with, John. I think that they could say, hey, we went all in at the deadline and look what we did last offseason, right? And I get that. But that's the problem is it feels like it's pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, or don't pay attention to this hand, but don't see what I'm doing in this hand, right? Like it feels like they did, but then Angel fans go, I don't know if you did or not. Am I wrong there?
Well, I mean, look, you look at the way the Mariners took off in August, 21-6 or something like that. And then they fell off in September. What's to say that our September couldn't have been a 21 game winning month if we had just held on to the pieces that we actually traded for? Now, I think that all indications were that the Angels couldn't put it back together again.
Yeah.
But you didn't see your plan through. Like 3 or 4 weeks into your going all in, you bailed and you put guys on waivers and you tried to recoup all the money you could.
Yeah.
And that to me doesn't tell me you want to win. That tells me that you want to save money and not get taxed for the luxury tax next season.
Sure.
And so all of this nonsense about Artie really wants to win. Well, sure. I really want to win too, but you know what I can do about it? Nothing. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Artie Moreno is in a position to actually put these guys in a position to win.
Yep.
And nothing he does indicates that. Yeah, you can taunt me with fancy players and fun names and exciting guys, but if you don't build from the ground up, if you don't build from the minor leagues, if you don't invest in your medical staff, if you don't invest in player development, if you don't even have a pitching lab within the confines of the Big A, then that tells me you don't want to win. So all of this nonsense about Artie's really motivated to win, Roger Lodge and Trent Rush and Perry Minasian, it's all a bunch of fluff, Mike, at the end of the day. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it one bit. Artie Moreno has never indicated that he wants to win, and he's never shown that he wants to win.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, you can grade each player and maybe even Artie if you like. And then we're going to next week talk about the results of each of those grades. So you can click the episode description and the link is there. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, what can we expect for tomorrow's Locked On Angels?
Well, we talked about Sam Blum's article that was really fantastic. We're actually going to tease it out and work it through tomorrow, and it's fantastic. So come and join us on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
My name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, guys, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
I love that we pulled out Bob Sacamano, Seinfeld reference, and then we just made up a name, Steve Hug and Kiss.
There you go. There you go.